what we see in our society today is that singles aren't marrying. Cohabiting is up 800% since the 70s, and it's just getting higher. When we wrote The Singlehood Phenomenon, 10 Reasons Why Singles Aren't Getting Married, it was published in 2004. Things have changed even more and more since then. There's a lot of information in this book that is going to help you understand the nature and purpose of marriage, what marriage is all about, what dating, the purpose of dating. It was written in the area of I Kiss Dating Goodbye, and I remember saying that I want to write the book I Hug Dating Hello, because while they were sort of giving a negative take on dating, it's how we socialize, it's how we determine who we want to see in a mate. We just can't be a game player. We can't be a person that uses people or hurts people. So when we look at why singles aren't getting married, there's some basic reasons. And number one, honestly, is they're scared to death. Over half of the kids born in 2000 were raised in a home with one parent that wasn't theirs. The high divorce rate of their parents, the high divorce rate of their friends, and they may have even divorced. They started out marrying. There's a book called The Starter Marriage, and it talks about people getting married and then realizing, I'm not mature enough for this. I can't handle this. I thought this was going to be different, because it's been romanticized to them in one way or the other, and they think that marriage is going to be all about having somebody to help me get along, instead of us both mutually growing and mutually helping the other person grow, but not being mature for them, not being their Jiminy Cricket that helps them get out of trouble, but you both growing together into maturity, and you growing individually into maturity. And the Soul Healing Love model talks about that. It's into two individual tracks. The first track is that I work on my own healing and growth. And the second track is that we work together on our healing and growth. And so there's a huge skepticism about love and marriage in our culture. And honestly, many people are choosing the single life, saying, I'd rather be alone than in an unhealthy marriage, because they've seen so many unhealthy marriages, and they're not settling. And what we do see is a large population of people who are not mature enough to handle the responsibility of marriage. The second reason is that they've lost their faith in God. They've lost their faith that God will provide a soulmate. Now, it is not necessary to have a soulmate to survive. When we wrote the book, I got this scathing review from a professor of sociology who was single that said, "You're making singlehood sound horrible. I've chosen to be single." And she wrote a nasty review on Amazon, and I thought, whoa, honey, you didn't read it. You didn't read it. You looked at the cover and you saw why singles aren't getting married, and you assumed that I come from a Christian perspective and I'm going to say marriage is good for everybody. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being single. Read the Apostle Paul. That's in the preface to the book. So obviously she didn't read it. She was just going to slam her competition. The truth is that no, you don't have to be married, and that's your choice. You live that choice well. But if you're not married because you've given up on God, now that's a sad part of your faith that you want to work on. If God made you to desire someone, that he possibly made someone to desire you. And the looking for that without being disappointed and disillusioned and rejected and I can't do this anymore, the looking for that person with hopeful anticipation, accepting my reality that I'm single and I can enjoy it, is a very healthy place for a single person to be. If it's gotta have a mate, people that are out there seeing you in singles groups or small groups get it, and they feel there's a desperation in you, and it literally repels people. Unresolved issues from the past is huge. In the Soul Healing Love model, if you've been rejected, if you've been hurt, if you have a low self-esteem because you've heard negative messages from your family of origin, then you're going to bring that with you. If you're not healed, if you're not working on it, you'll bring it with you. And so what happens is the mate says something like, oh, wow, you're in a lot of debt. And you say, yeah, I went to graduate school, but I'm paying it off, and I got a very low interest rate, but it's kind of hard at times because I have to stay on a budget. And you get home and you go, how dare he say that? That sounded so negative. And basically he's asking you very good questions for a possible lifetime partner. But in your home, your family of origin put you down, or they were negative, they made you feel terrible about yourself, or they particularly got on you about money. You're terrible with money. Your brother's fantastic with money. He's going to be an investment banker. I don't know what you're going to grow up to be. Then that wounds you, and you have high levels of reactivity to just his question. And when you have high levels of reactivity to his question, what are you going to do? Boom, either explode, or you do the hit and run, explode and walk away. And now what's sad is then you unload on this person for asking a very legitimate question because you've not dealt with your past. You've not looked at your own soul wounds and why you get reactive. And what you do then is blame everybody else. So then I see these people who are just literally serial daters. I date them until they tick me off or hurt me or offend me. And then I go to the next one. And none of them, by the way, are good enough because I just don't like the way they're invasive and intrusive instead of dealing with the woundedness in you. The next one is confusion about the rules of dating. I don't even know what it is anymore. I mean, when I wrote the book, we had hookups. Now it's tragic. The sexting, it is tragic. We have TV shows dedicated to 13 weeks to find your soulmate. Makes me a little bit nervous because I don't think you can find anything in 13 weeks. I don't think I can find the right soap suds to make my whites whiter in 13 weeks. And yet we're touting it as this great thing. Now there's love at first sight. I just saw the commercial and my stomach rolled over. I thought, oh dear, you're going to marry somebody when you just see them for a little while and it's on display for all the world to see. Now, this is how far we've come, because one of the things we researched in the singlehood phenomenon was courting rituals at the turn of the century and how far we've come. Now, listen to the differences. Courting rituals in the 1900s versus the millennium, the 2000s. 1900, courting call was a complicated event. One had to observe the appropriate amount of time between the invitation and the actual visit. 2000, maybe I'll drop by later. 1900, it is extremely important to conduct a proper discussion on only a small amount of topics, all of which covered the man's interests. Ooh, that's going to strike some nerves, but nothing too personal. 2000, hand me the remote for the game, hon. 1900, men sent absurdly romantic letters, gushing such scribes as 1,000 kisses for you, forever yours. 2000, text me. 1900s, it was customary for the local older woman to serve as a matchmaker for the young couple. The woman, as well as the matchmaker, sat down. She was well regarded in the town, and they talked about what they wanted in partners. She garnered much respect from her peers and also from their offspring when she was selecting mates for the people in the town. 2000, Match.com, eHarmony. I mean, there's a million of them now. 1900, parlor games were common, usually played with a chaperone. 2000, couples spend their time working out at the gym. Now, in 2020, 2021, couples spend their time doing really inappropriate things long before they get together as a couple, and they even do it online. 1900, men had to go out of their way to spend a great deal of wages to bring their young ladies a gift of chocolate, a symbol of love. 2000, FannieMae.com. This happened to be from a Fannie Mae website that I found that I thought was great. One of the things that I loved about it, and most women that I talked to, and most women who've read the book I've talked to say, I really like it that the man had to declare his devotion. You know, and also he had to spend his money. Now, in the day, they were the wage earners, so that made sense. But because it's so confusing now, because it's so difficult now, women don't know, is it a date? Is it not a date? Did he pay? Did he not pay? I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. I hear this every week in therapy when I work with singles. Well, so what do you think's going on? I don't have any idea. I don't know what we're doing. And God forbid, the old Seinfeld gave us the term define the relationship talk, the DTR talk. And men are like, oh no, you're not going to do that, are you? You're not going to do that. So we do have a large amount of men who are frightened of commitment. Now, I say to women, the pool that you're dating in, you've got a lot of what we would call commitment phobia. Now, I'm not just doing this anecdotally. Rutgers University will do studies on the state of our unions, and some of them are fantastic. This particular season, their study was on why aren't men marrying? And it actually led to a book called Where Have All the Good Men Gone? And these were the reasons. What they did is they went in, I think, 6 or 7 major cities, singles. They were, like, I don't know, 20-something to 35. And they interviewed them and said, why aren't you marrying? You know, the average marrying age is pushing 40 now. And back then it was pushing 36, 37. Now it's 40. And for females, it was 32 then, and now it's pushing 36 or 37. And so they asked them, why aren't you marrying? And these are the reasons that they gave. They can enjoy the benefits of having a wife by cohabiting, and they don't have to get married. They want to avoid divorce and the financial risks. They want to wait until they're older to have children. They fear that marriage will require too many changes and compromises, and they're not ready to make them. Marriage is a large step in socially being responsible. It's a large step in your maturity. It's a large step in whether you can be sacrificial and you can surrender yourself for the needs of others. And I find that that threatens a lot of, in particular, this study found men. But I've also seen women feel the same way. You get sex without marriage, even in the Christian community, so why bother? They're waiting for the perfect soulmate. And he or she hasn't appeared yet. Now, the men said she hasn't appeared yet, but most of the men that I work with say, I see now that was my excuse because I was a perfectionistic dater. They want to own a house before they have a wife, and they want to enjoy single life as long as they possibly can. Now, let's talk about, I mean, some of them make sense, but the deal is we don't want you to get to the place like some women get where they're unintentionally single, unintentionally childless. Men get there too. I don't know how I got to be 45 and I'm not married and I don't have a partner, and that makes me sad. And right now I don't know what to do about it because I'm kind of stuck. And we really begin to help them get out of the rut. So that gets us to perfectionistic dating. And that's one of the reasons singles stay single. And that is that they want Fabio's looks and Mel Gibson's eyes and Gandhi's soul and Jesus' disposition. And what they're doing is they're just getting so extreme that they are wanting perfection. But it is a way to protect themselves from hurt. If I want perfect, and I know there's no such thing, deep down inside, it's not conscious, then I'm not going to find perfect, therefore I probably don't have to risk, which is the next reason singles stay single, and that is fear of getting hurt. And we say, we know you've been hurt. You know, you'll probably meet someone who's been hurt. We know that. Maybe you were divorced and you're out there, you know, hacking away, trying it again. You'll have to be vulnerable. And if you're vulnerable, you could get hurt. But we've said over and over in healthy relationships, vulnerability is the only path to true intimacy. And so you ask the Lord to help you, shore you up, give you strength, so that if hurt is around the corner, which you don't want, but it could inevitably happen. You may hurt somebody. I tell people that all the time. What if somebody falls for you and you don't have the same chemistry? I mean, chemistry is chemistry. And he looks great on paper and he's the greatest guy in the world, and your mother and your sister and everybody tells you to marry him. Or your father says, this is the best gal I've ever seen. Look at her. She's an investment banker like you, or she's a lawyer like you, but you don't have chemistry. You could hurt them. In the dating and mating game, you could get hurt. And the Lord will help you heal it. And then the next reason is not dealing with that prior heartbreak. That I have broken up with somebody and I am so decimated that I literally feel like I can't do that again. Now, guys, I've worked with people with some very serious breakups. I mean, the woman sold his credit card and ran it up $20,000, and he's not gonna, he's gonna be responsible and pay the debt. He was married. She dated him for 4.5 months, and he said he was going to move to Charlotte. The day, he catfished her, and the day he's going to move to Charlotte, and they're planning a wedding, and they've talked to the minister. She finds out from a friend that he's married with 2 kids, three states over. So she goes and shows up at his door and says, "You were supposed to move to Charlotte today, and who are these children?" To which he goes, busted. You want to talk about pain. You want to talk about hurt. Oh, it is some of the most devastating hurt and betrayal that you can go through. But I have helped those people walk through the valley of the shadow of that disintegrating pain with God's help. And they have moved on to find a healthy, godly, loving, single person to marry and share the rest of their life with. Because their only sin, problem, whatever, was being loving and kind and trusting somebody who is a scam artist. That'll break your heart. But God will be there to send all his angels to help knit that heart back together. And then an unbalanced focus on their career. And we just hear this a lot. My mother, who's divorced, said, don't get married. Get your medical degree. Get your practice started. Get this, get that. And then she comes in and she's 50 and she goes, "Well, I listened to my mom. Guess what? My mom got married. She's 71 and she just got married. Well, here I am. I've got this great thriving practice, but I don't have time to date because I'm so busy," because they focus so much on their career. And they got told that, focus on your career, focus on your career. It's good. It's good too. I like that this generation is career focused, but there's a certain amount of growth that can happen as you're growing together vocationally. We did. Tom was getting his master's when we married. Then after he got his master's, I got my first master's in marital and family therapy. And then I started the practice, and then he got another master's in counseling and joined me. And then when we were 50, we got our PhDs together. So we focused on our career together, and it really led to a beautiful ministry together. So you don't know what the Lord can do as you're really trying to focus on your career together. I think the key is to ask him. And if you're fearful your marriage will fail, there are so many places, books, education, courses, online courses, including the Soul Healing Love courses that you can take that give you a strong sense of what a healthy relationship looks like, where the pitfalls are, the potholes that I don't need to step in, so that you can have far more confidence that if the Lord leads you to somebody, he will help you make the right decision and you can move forward healthier and stronger together.